Thank you to everybody for a wide variety of questions that were submitted as part of the OurSay initiative. There were dozens of submissions and hundreds of votes. These are the responses to the 3 questions that had the most votes. Thanks to Paul Smart for his question about daylight saving. Paul, this has always been a very controversial issue in Queensland, and we did have a referendum on daylight saving some time ago in the 1990s. That referendum did not succeed, and before committing us to another referendum, I thought it was important to test what Queenslanders thought. We did an AC Nielsen poll of Queenslanders that saw results in 2007, which are available on the Premier's website. Similarly, last year we did a survey asking people what they thought about splitting Queensland's time zones in 2 so that the southeast would have daylight saving. Let me say, living in the southeast, I think daylight saving would be terrific for our state, and I'd love it. But I have to govern for everybody in Queensland. And what the surveys show me is that while there is a small majority for daylight saving, that majority is all concentrated in the southeast of our state. Once you get pretty much north of Noosa, people in regional Queensland do not want this. They have very, very strong views about it, and as Premier, I can't ignore those views. So I appreciate that here in the southeast, everyone would love to have it, or not everyone, but a majority would love to have it. But it would be, I think, something that would be very difficult and very controversial, and potentially split Queensland in 2. Probably the least popular option has been the idea of a different time zone for southeast Queensland. People in the regions felt very strongly that they didn't want to be separated from the rest of our state, and they felt that that's what this would do. So I understand that there are many people here in the southeast for whom this would be a great addition to their lifestyle, but ultimately I have to govern for everybody, and that's what I'm doing. Thanks to Jeff Payne for his question on fluoride. Queensland's decision to fluoridate our public water supplies was based on the strongest of science from around Australia and around the world. I've heard many claims of fluoridation being linked to cancer, low IQ and a range of other medical problems. The scientific data consistently proves these concerns to be baseless. Australia's National Health and Medical Research Centre has published an extensive review on the scientific work on fluoride. It's available online, and I'd encourage everyone who has a question to go and have a look. I should also note that here in Queensland, you couldn't say we rushed into the decision on fluoride. Other cities around Australia like Sydney and Melbourne, Darwin, Perth, among others, fluoridated their water supplies more than 40 years ago. Here in Queensland, the city of Townsville started fluoridating its water in 1964. So we've got more than 40 years of evidence from cities right across Australia about the effects of fluoride. What the science shows us is that it is a very effective tool at reducing tooth decay, and there is no evidence that any disease or any illness or any condition is more prevalent in Townsville or Sydney or Melbourne than it is in any cities without fluoride. In relation to the claim in your question, Jeff, that the American Dental Association recommends against using fluoridated water in the preparation of infant formula, can I say that on the material I've seen, you've been mistaken. The American Dental Association has unreservedly endorsed the use of fluoride in public water systems. It recommends that fluoridated water systems are fine for making baby formula. This material is available on the American Dental Association's website, and their position on fluoride, I'm advised, has not changed since 1950. And thank you to Emma Carton for your question on Queensland's investment in solar energy. Emma, there's lots of exciting things happening here in Queensland, and in many respects we're leading the way now when it comes to solar power. We've invested and have committed around $250 million into a number of projects. Solar power, of course, comes on large-scale projects as well as smaller home-based solar panels. In terms of some large-scale projects, Queensland is soon to be home to Australia's first solar thermal power booster to the Kogan Creek Power Station in southwest Queensland. This will be the second largest of its kind in the world, that is, using solar power to boost the capacity of an existing power station. We've also committed, in partnership with the federal government as part of their solar flagship program, to a very big project in Chinchilla for 250 megawatts of solar power in a project called Solar Dawn. It will be the largest project of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. We've also in the process of putting in place two of Australia's first solar farms, one at Hervey Bay and one at Cloncurry. These are all very, very remarkable projects in their own right, and I'd encourage you to find out more about them. But of course, solar power can also be put in place at a very local level. You'll see us now putting solar panels on a number of government buildings, as well as every state school in Queensland now has solar panels, as well as technology that will allow students to understand how solar power is being generated, to go straight online and work out how much power their school is generating, how much it's using and how much it's putting back into the electricity grid. Queenslanders have certainly voted with their rooftops when it comes to solar power. 4 years ago we had about 1,000 households with solar panels on their roofs. As a result of our decision as a government to put in place what's called a feed-in tariff, where people can get paid for the excess electricity they generate from their panel, we've seen that go from 1,000 homes to 100,000 homes with solar panels, not only generating their own electricity, but many or most of them now generating surplus back into the grid. We're also seeing some of our public facilities. University of Queensland is putting in place a very large-scale rooftop solar installation that will be the largest in Australia. And down on the Gold Coast at Metricon Stadium at Carrara, our newest sporting stadium, the rooftop cover has solar panels all around the edge that generate solar power for the stadium. In fact, Australia's only solar-powered sports stadium. So while there's still a lot of work to be done, and internationally the world is still some way from finding how to use solar power in a way that will generate baseload electricity, I think we can be very proud of how much Queenslanders are adopting this technology and how many large-scale projects we're now seeing get underway here in our state.